As I'm sure many of you are aware, since the new patch, ISO has become a bit of a problem.
Oh,
Yeah, that's my.
do it to him, bro. Do it to him, bro. Like one more. Go in there.
And this is an experience that many people have had recently with ISO. Maybe not to that level, but, you know, something similar. And so ISO is already getting nerfed in patch 9.00, where Penguin Valorant confirmed that they are removing the 2-kill reset on his E and reducing the duration of his E from 20 seconds to 12 seconds. So removing the reset gives ISO just one activation, and reducing the duration should create a clearer window for opponents to deny him fights. But will these changes have the desired outcome? Well, let's go back to that Demon 1 clip and take a look at what would have been different with this version of ISO versus the old version of ISO. Well, the first thing is Demon 1 has already used his E in this clip. So in this case, he would have used it and that's it. It's gone, right? You're never getting it back. So that is obviously the first big difference, that if you do use it and don't get it back like he does now, you know, that obviously he wouldn't have the shield here, you know, he wouldn't be able to survive this first shot from I think a Marshall or whatever it is. But now obviously let's assume that this was his first shield that he was using here instead. You can still do this, right? You can still have the shield, get it back like he does here, right? He gets hit again and again, I guess, if he goes down to 49 HP. You know, the double tap is still up, and this would probably still be within the 12-second window, so he would still get that another one again. He wouldn't get the reactivation that he gets there at the end, you know, because he gets 2 kills. So he wouldn't get the shield that he then puts back on, as you see just there, but he would still be getting shields, you know, from getting kills and retapping the orb, of course. And I think really what we've seen with ISO thus far, and some of the problems that you can definitely encounter with ISO, has been that snowball effect of, you know, I get a shield, I get a kill, I keep the shield, and, you know, you just keep going through all the kills, and every fight you take is with a shield. And, you know, obviously this is a problem in ranked, very much so in ranked, but we've even started to see the smallest little hints of the problem come about in pro play as well.
It's quite a bit overtuned, but, you know, that's completely fine for now. We're seeing something else other than the default raise jet. A little bit of fresh air.
Full up top fight, not gonna be there. Double tap shield is there to save him from certain death, and Vera doubles up even. A little bit worried for Vera earlier on the entry due to him catching his friendly undercut, and yeah, there's the shield.
Yeah, so that was a clip from a DSG game which was on the new patch, where they did play ISO on Icebox and found quite a bit of success in doing so as well. And in fact, I'm just going to be showing you some different clips from that game later on as well, of many different ISO multi-kills. So let's talk about it then, because I do think there will still be some issues with ISO here, because I do feel like that snowball effect, which is, you know, clearly I think the problem with ISO and how ISO can just simply dominate a game, that snowball effect can still be there. Now, it certainly has been reduced and more limited in that, you know, you kind of have a much shorter window to get kills because you don't get the reactivation, right? So if you do get like a first kill, you get the shield back, you get a second kill, you know, at that point in a game, you know, you would just have the shield to use again whenever you wanted, right? Once you got 2 kills, you know, you were kind of good to then completely snowball the round. Now it's a bit more of a case of you have a much shorter time window on you, you know, that you still should be good to get 2 kills quite often, and we'll talk about that and whether that's a problem, but getting the 3rd, 4th, 5th might not be as easy if no one else is there to take that fight at that time. And of course, they have reduced that window from 20 seconds to 12 seconds as well. Now, a part of me did think, I wonder if 12 seconds is even still a bit too much. You know, 12 seconds is quite a long time for you to look for a fight in a Valorant game, right? From when you first activate that shield, where you're probably suspecting that someone might be somewhat close to you already, and then you have a whole 12 seconds to try and find that fight. That's, I still think, is a pretty long time. You know, the jet dash, I think, is 7.5 seconds for, you know, when you can dash from when you activate it. So I personally thought they might go even more with that nerf, to be honest, because I think 20 seconds was obviously just completely ridiculous. 12 I still think is quite long, and I think if ISO is still a problem after these changes, I wouldn't be surprised to see that come down even further, you know, to maybe even less than 10. But as I said, there is maybe still that problem of when you get that first kill with a shield, you take the first fight with the shield, you get the kill, you then shoot the orb and you have it again, that second kill is still very much there for you. And, you know, you could argue that one ability giving you an advantage for 2 fights in a row is just inherently not very fair, right? That I think a lot of people would see the shield as very much an ability that should be much more in the case of, like, you get it once and that's it, right? But that is not what is happening here. And so I do still think there is a real potential here for ISO to continue to be a problem. Now, in pro play, probably not as much, right? Because the rest of ISO's kit probably isn't good enough overall in pro play to, you know, warrant selecting him a lot, especially if, you know, the snowball has been decreased in its potential somewhat, but certainly in ranked, right? Certainly in ranked, where people are much more likely to, you know, just take fights all the time and just run in on their own and try and take that 1v1 versus an ISO, you know, as opposed to a pro match. The snowball potential, I still think, will very much be there. You know, ranked games tend to be a lot more chaotic and hectic and faster pace in general. And so I don't think that those, you know, reduced time windows would be that much of a problem. And sure, maybe if we take that Demon 1 clip as an example, maybe Demon 1 doesn't get all the kills that he gets there, but there's a good chance that, you know, an ISO with the new version would still be looking at 3 favored fights. And if you can go 3 for 1, like, with one ability, that's insane, right? Like, that's still an insanely valuable tool to have if you look at those kind of situations. So I personally still think that ISO in ranked will be a bit of a problem, right? It's very easy to use, very easy to play. You know, if you're just good at aiming, then, you know, you're gonna find those fights because people in ranked will just take those fights against you, right? That's just the way the ranked is, seemingly. And so I still think that maybe these changes aren't enough. I do think they'll be enough to where pro play, like, we won't see ISO, but isn't that kind of the worst of both worlds then? Because we've got an ISO that probably after this patch won't see any pro play, but will still, I think, be a problem in ranked. And sure, it won't be as big of a problem in ranked, but I wouldn't be surprised. And obviously they've made this change, I would guess, because I would bet the numbers right now are saying that this agent is completely broken in ranked. Like, unbelievably broken in ranked, I would guess, is what the right numbers are telling them, and that's why they've made this change, right? But I still think that ISO will be very, very, very strong in ranked even after these changes, and so it wouldn't surprise me to see them maybe make some changes as well later on. And then maybe we might end up with an ISO in a good spot where they nerf this E even further, right? The time maybe is even reduced even still. And, you know, or maybe it doesn't come back at all, right? You use it once and then you can't shoot any orbs or anything. That's just gone, right? And you just get a shield once. And then they improve the rest of ISO's kit so that maybe that would make him, you know, a more viable pro option, but, you know, not a terror in ranked. But those are just some of my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm sure many of you encountered ISOs that were not very fun to play against. Do you think that the nerfs will be enough that they're giving ISO? Or do you think, kind of like me, that ISO's still going to be a bit of a problem in ranked and maybe they need to tone it down even just a bit more?